Billiton's hostile $40 billion bid for the world's largest fertilizer company raises the importance of the world's fertilizer businesses today. Joining us now from Lagos on the state of the fertilizer industry in West Africa is Adeyemi Shoyele, who is the factory general manager at FTN Cocoa Processors. Thank you very much for coming through. Adeyemi, let's talk about what's going on internationally. This bid, which seems to have failed by BHP over Potash Corporation, we're told that others will be coming to the fore in the form of Brazil's Vale, for instance. What do you make of what's going on?
Well, what I see about what is going on is that there's going to be a lot of pull in terms of demand for fertilizers, especially from Asia, China to be specific. And this is going to put a lot of pressure on West Africa and indeed the entire African continent as far as fertilizer supplies are concerned.
Now, fertilizer prices have been rising on the back of major agro outputs in countries like India. Going forward, where do you see prices for fertilizers getting up to? Because we are major agro processors and producers in Africa and we're very susceptible.
Well, it's unfortunate that most of the countries in Africa, including Nigeria, do not pay any attention to fertilizer manufacturing. Nigeria, for example, imports about 95% or more of its fertilizer requirement. This would, in essence, also is a matter of supply and demand. This will also push up the price of fertilizer for some time.
All right, let's talk about what's happening in other African countries, because we've seen countries like Malawi, which have been major agrarian producers over the last few years, is largely because of the foresight and the intervention by the government in providing fertilizer subsidies, for instance, for farmers and influencing the marketing process. Similar interventions in Ethiopia. Now, for the African farmer in Malawi, that has been a very necessary step. But for the government that needs to incur the bill, how practical is it when we consider that fertilizer prices may be rising?
Well, it's everything depends on the country's policies. You've just mentioned Malawi. There is a lot of government intervention and government support. In most of the West African countries, there is nothing in terms of policies behind farming. What you see in West Africa is that business people just import fertilizers and sell to the market, or in the case of Nigeria, some governments, state governments import fertilizers for distribution to their people. This will continue to push up the price of fertilizers until someone somewhere in West Africa thinks there is a need to invest in fertilizer manufacturing.
All right, let's talk about soft commodities in general in West Africa. We've just seen a report released on cocoa output in Ghana, the second largest cocoa producer on the continent. And for instance, in the cocoa purchasing season, we've seen a drop of 6.3%. Okay, largely due to indigenous factors like smuggling and the rest of it in Ghana, but it will be compounded going forward by issues such as a rise in fertilizer prices. What's your outlook for soft commodities in West Africa?
Well, the way it is, it looks as if, first of all, the harvest going forward it will be marginally improved over the last season. We're looking at a better main crop, but the price doesn't seem to come down. Rather, it looks as if we're in for a very tough time as far as prices are concerned.
All right, let me just get Kwebi's perspective on this one. I mean, an 8% or an $8 jump rather in prices of agricultural exchange traded funds in global markets. It's due to this possible M&A situation with Potash Corporation, but also compounded by the droughts in Russia, which have literally decimated the wheat crop. So going forward, what do you think we're going to see, Kwebi, regarding prices for soft commodities and agricultural goods?
You're probably going to see it rising. And I'll tell you why. I mean, generally commodities worldwide, you sit in a situation whereby on the back end of a recession, they usually collapse, and the volatility in them are usually quite high. And then on the back end of a recovery, you see a huge amount of price increases. So you probably, as the world economy continues to recover, you're probably going to see a continuation in the prices of these commodities continuing up. You might be seeing though an intra spike as far as there's just not enough supply for the demand, right. You know, and that might cool down slightly. But long term, you'll see an increase in price.
All right, just a final comment from you, Mr. Shoyele. We know that, for instance, with the rise in wheat prices, Nigeria is in a very vulnerable position concerning how to tame inflation, because 64% of the Nigeria's inflation basket is comprised of food. You add to it what's happening concerning the fertilizers, and it doesn't look very good concerning how Nigeria is going to manage to keep inflation around 10% going forward. What do authorities in Nigeria need to do to really boost the potential of agriculture?
Well, the authorities need to move beyond rhetorics. They need to move beyond political gimmicks. They ought to see agriculture as the next income earner for Nigeria besides oil. And they also all need to see that agriculture is the only way of sustaining the country's economy, at the same time creating a lot of jobs for the unemployed youths, and as well as sustaining the country's food requirements. That's the only thing. And again, on top of all this is the issue of leadership. When you have the right leadership in place, then the issue of agriculture will be given its proper attention.
All right, so the government has assured the public that agriculture is going to be a major focus of this administration. Certainly, we've seen the Vice President leading the call for an agricultural development fund, for instance, funding farmers and also sorting out issues around land distribution in Nigeria. You're not convinced by the goodwill expressed so far?
Well, it's just an intention. It's yet to materialize. When we see the action on ground, because you see, as you know, most farmers in Nigeria practice the subsistence farming, and for us to survive into future, we need mechanized farming. Now, these equipments don't come cheap; they are imported, and the government has to put in a deliberate financing policies for farmers to be able to access the funds to buy the machines. So really, it's a question of wait and see.